So he says, do we comprehend, brothers and sisters? He's talking to now the 1980s Greek people in Larissa, right? He's not talking to professors in America. He's not talking to missionaries. Orthodox converts. He's talking to Orthodox people in the villages and in the cities and towns around the center of Greece in 1980. And he says, do you comprehend the gravity of this problem, this dilemma that we're talking about? We have millions and millions of people who confess to be Christians, and they're not in the church. Of course, if you want to define Christian very specifically and not do any damage to it at all, you cannot think of Christians outside the church, right? I mean, where do Christians begin? In the church. Where are they born? In the baptism in the church. When does the church begin? On Pentecost. I mean, these things are inseparable. But to use the term, let's say, in a more broader, more lax way, obviously, it's applicable and it's very acceptable to say Christians in what sense? That they follow and they seek to follow Christ. There's Christians who follow and seek to follow Christ as much as they can. That's, if we use it in that way, that's okay. There's a Christians in a broader sense. But can you be a Christian if you don't put on Christ in baptism and in the Eucharist and in the and confess the one faith? Strictly speaking, you cannot. But he uses it in a broader sense, and he says, "Look at this: millions upon millions, and they're not a part of the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church. They're and I mean, what would he say today? Even in the 30, 40 years since he spoke, we just continue to have dissolution upon dissolution, right? We have so-called Christians touting the most absurd and anti-evangelical teachings about human sexuality, about the priesthood. And so it's just the fruits of the apostasy are so blatant and so obvious. How can all of those who are seeking the truth in the West should immediately go back to church history and just follow the back to the roots, right? Follow the line back to the roots and see what happened. It's not today or yesterday. It's way long ago. And he says, all of this occurred because of the fall of the Pope. And this is exactly what is the consensus of church fathers. Father Severin Rose, of course, says it, but so does Kobiakov 150 years ago in Russia. He says the Pope was the first Protestant. And in this way, he's showing us that this is where it all began. All of this disintegration in the West began with them. So it's a tragedy. We should have pain of heart, as the elder does. He says, how will they reach salvation? He says, what will happen to them? We should be in grave pain of heart. We should be weeping. We should feel the pain for our brothers and sisters who are not in the one church, who are not participating in the mysteries, and are not on the path, the narrow royal path of salvation. It is a tragedy of untold proportions. And of course, it's not a surprise that all of this has led to the last days that we're living in, which is approaching the ascent of Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist being so obvious in the world today.